Residents have been given the same list of questions and a sheet on which you can indicate if you feel they allocated their time properly to provide you the answers you need to decide which 4 candidates, 1 for each position, should be elected. What your sheet has, which theirs don't, are the duties of a school board member. A little history. An educated community is a safe, successful, and prosperous community. Established in 1892, Conroe ISD is the 9th largest, some sources say 7th largest, school district in Texas. That's pretty close to the top. And the largest employer in Montgomery County. It serves over 74,000 students across 71 campuses in a 348 square mile area, which is geographically, economically, and demographically diverse. It is one of the fastest growing districts in the state, with current enrollment growth averaging 2,500 to 3,000 students per year. It's a lot to keep up with. The district is proud to have one of the lowest tax rates in the Houston metropolitan area at 0.9496 cents. Due to the state's unwillingness to fully fund public education in the last legislative session, for the first time ever, Conroe ISD adopted an $11 million deficit budget in August 2024. With no additional funding coming from the state, management of a $1.9 billion bond, and so many new students every year, Conroe ISD continues to be ranked number 2 in Texas when it comes to fiscal responsibility and educational outcomes. This year's school board race has 11 candidates running for 4 of the board's 7 spots. It is important that we hire the best to make the best decisions possible. We're going to do this a little differently today. I told you how we're going to do it, so hopefully it is the fairest way, and the candidates and the attendees are pleased. I would ask if you took a pen or a pencil to make notes that you please return it. I had to sharpen all those pencils today. It took me a while. I also had to buy a pencil sharpener, but so starting out, Belgium wanted to tell me, which I think he got from Steve Toth, our state representative, that 242 the workmen will not be working on that on election day. So that will be a huge help because this is the voting location for precinct 75. I would urge you anyway, though, to vote early during early voting, so you don't have to find all the people and stand in line, or to do.
It will be open. There just won't be construction.
Oh yeah, it'll be open. Yeah, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but yes, thank you, Steve. So that'll make voting easier, but voting by mail is simple, and also early voting. Our closest location, although you can go to many different ones, is the South County Community Building. So Belton is our timekeeper, and I'll let him tell you about that.
I have an iPad here, we'll be facing you. We'll start with 11 minutes. I have cards I will bring up when you're 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then end. And if you go over your time, we have a notification I think you'll enjoy. Oh, happy days, you're over with us. So I will have a timer for you, you can watch it on the screen, and then I will get you the 2 minutes, so we can go from there.
Any questions before we get started? Okay, well, number one is Lindsay Dawson, so just go ahead and start.
Testing. Just for clarity, which question am I starting? The top question?
You can take them in any order you want.
Okay, and I have 11 minutes. Oh, that's a long.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Dawson. I'm running for the Conroe ISD School Board in position number 5. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has come tonight, taken time out of your day to hear from us. We really do appreciate that, and we do need informed citizens. So a little bit about me. I'm a mom to 2 littles, and we've been here in the area for about 6 years now. Before this, I came from the CIA and the Department of State. So I worked for the federal government for about a decade, working on foreign policy, policy making for our nation's most senior policymakers. So I'm used to pressure cooker situations like this. I focused on the Middle East quite extensively. National security is, a huge concern to me. But even more of concern is the kids and protecting our kids in this district. Not just protecting them, but actually empowering them to be successful, productive members of our society. So that's really why I'm running for the Conroe ISD. We need to get back to basics. We need to focus on academic excellence, reading, writing, arithmetic, and not some of these social issues that we tend to hear about more and more. There's also a large budget deficit that we need to address. We need to have fiscal responsibility. We need to have a balanced budget, which is what the incumbents up on the stage, they're actually part of the reason why we have a budget deficit. So we need to address that. We need to support our teachers better. They're leaving in droves. The number one issue that we hear directly from teachers is that there's a problem with discipline. There's no control in the classroom. There's violent, disruptive kids that get taken out and then they get put right back in the classroom. This is disrupting the teacher. First of all, it's disrupting the classroom. It's impacting their safety, teachers and other students. They can't focus when there is a lack of control in the classroom. So we're hearing from teachers pretty loudly. That is a big focus of our slate, is to focus on discipline and getting the resources that teachers need, making sure that the funding that is in place, that it's actually trickling down to the teachers and not just to administrators. So I'll end with that.
You have another question?
Okay, so you're,
Okay, so answer some of the other questions. Okay,
well, you have 11 minutes.
total for everything.
Total.
Okay, I got you. Okay, duties of a school board member. So according to the Texas Education Agency, there's 3 primary duties. The first one is to govern, to set the tone for the district, and to establish policy. So in terms of my background and why I'm the best suited candidate for that, that's literally what I did for a decade, was support our policy makers making complex decisions. As a diplomat, I served overseas, and I was used to working with different stakeholders from across the spectrum. I'm a fair, I'm a balanced person, and so I'm used to that. I would bring those skills to this board. I have attention to detail. I am a leader, and that's sorely lacking in our board right now. We need true leadership back behind the dais. The second major component of being on the board is approving the budget. And as you know, there's a large budget deficit, which I can address with the last question. But 2 incumbents that are running have approved a budget deficit for the first time. And they want to blame it on the state, for the state's lack of funding, but it's really due to their overspending. They don't want to mention that. They don't want to be held accountable for the spending decisions that they've made. But it's time to hold them accountable because, guys, we're being taxed out of our houses. Our taxes are out of control. I know that we have a low property or a low tax rate, but our appraisals are going up. They just passed a $2 billion bond. The county just approved more tax rate increases. So, I'm wondering, is anyone's tax bill going down in this room? One person, okay, I'm glad. For the majority of us, especially in today's economy with inflation, it's hurting us big time. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be, we need to be funding our schools. They're the bedrock of our society. But we need to do it responsibly. We need to make sure that it's getting to the people that are on the front lines every day, and that's our teachers. So that's number 2. Is the financial component. And as a former auditor, I have a finance degree, was an economic analyst for 10 years. I understand attention to detail, and I will bring that. I will bring fiscal responsibility back to this board of your taxpayer dollars. The third thing that the board does is represents our constituents and our community values. And that is one thing that's really lacking right now in our board. They are not representing the vast majority of our constituents. So I will be a bold leader, and I will represent you guys and not just district interests. So those are the 3 things about being a school board member. Next question, code of ethics. So, it is to my understanding, well, first of all, it's not a code of ethics, it's a code of conduct. I have not seen an official document anywhere on the Conroe ISD website that states what this code of conduct is. I have seen some versions on social media, so, unofficial, and based on what I'm seeing in that code of conduct, and I don't know if other folks have read it, but there's some concerning parts. I would call it more of a code of silence than a code of conduct. According to the current code of conduct, if a board member wants to talk to other staff, they have to get approval from the board, and it all goes through doctrinal. To me, that sounds like censorship, and I'm not going to sign something that limits my voice. I was elected if I'm elected, I will be elected by the people. I serve my constituents and not just the district. But will I act with integrity? Absolutely. With every job I've ever done, there will be integrity. Okay, financial. And I'll wrap it up real quick because I have 2.5 minutes left. So like I said, $12 million budget, right, or deficit. And it really dates back to COVID. In 2020, the district got a large tranche of money for federal relief funds, over $100 million. They were told specifically by the state, do not hire positions with one-time funding, because that funding runs out, right? Well, what did they do? They went and hired 225 positions, the vast majority being administrators. Now, I am all in favor of hiring teachers. We desperately need teachers. They're leaving. We need them. We need that money going to teachers, not to administrators. So, what I would do, first of all, is get a third-party audit and actually look into the details, not just the high-level numbers that the district provides every month. We need detailed numbers of how it's being spent. We need to identify any waste that's occurring, and I say any, okay? We don't know until we look at the numbers. I'm a numbers person, I need to see that data. yes, I will acknowledge on the funding side of things that the state's basic allotment has not changed since COVID. It does need to be adjusted for inflation, absolutely. It's hurting all of us, it needs to be adjusted for inflation, but there needs to be responsible spending too. We can't just keep asking the state for more money as we're having decline in learning outcomes. What are we getting for that money? I'd like to know. So that's all I'll end it with that.
Okay, thank you. Number 2 is Marianne Horton, and someone asked me to ask each of you if your kids went to public school. If they did, raise your hand. So that's,
I don't know.
you're what?
They're not holding up yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy.
Good answer.
All right. So number 2, Marianne Horton.
Hi, my name is Marianne Horton. I've got 2 kiddos in Conroe ISD. I have one in junior high who is a cheerleader along with one of our residents' granddaughters. I've got one in intermediate school and they're having, a wonderful year. I was also a Conroe ISD teacher. We moved to the district in 2017. We moved from Katy, Texas, which is also where I grew up. I graduated from Katy ISD. And then I went to Texas A&M University. I thought I would get a whoop out of that. Went to Texas A&M University where I got a degree in journalism and a secondary teaching certification. So when I first got out of college, I worked as a journalist. I wrote for publications including the Houston Chronicle, Community Impact, the Houston Business Journal. So doing research, digging in to get the full story is just really my second nature. I absolutely love research. I want all the facts. I want all the sides. I want the whole story. So I worked as a journalist, but I did find myself really pulled toward the education stories. In that time, I was covering school board meetings. I was also covering budget meetings. But I think even more than that, I was really enjoying covering meetings about students and what students were doing in our community, the achievements they had, their community service involvement. It was at that time I really felt a pull, a tug on my heart to get into the classroom. So I started teaching in 2007 in Spring Branch ISD. I was a pre-advanced placement English teacher. It was a Title I school, which means, the kids, it was a low socioeconomic school, so a lot of the kids were struggling, but they loved being in school, and I loved having them in my classroom. I think, people always ask me, why do you want to teach 9th grade? Why do you want to, and I ended up teaching 8th grade. Those are difficult, tricky years, and having an 8th grader myself right now, I can say those are extremely tricky years. But I feel that that's a really important time in a kid's life where you can really mold them and help them and guide them. And I just love being able to do that and be in the classroom. So in 2017, as I said, our family moved to the district. My husband got a new job as a CFO up here. And I took a couple of years off as we adjusted. I got very involved once my youngest started kindergarten in the PTO. It was exciting for me to be able to get back into the school on that side. Our schools need money, and at that time we needed money for Chromebooks, which are computers, and I was a communications chair and was able to create a sponsorship package that brought in $10,000 for our school. So it was really cool to be able to give back to the school in that way. But I was still kind of feeling this tug, like I need to get back in the classroom. I love being in the school, I love being here every day with the PTO, but I really wanted to get back into the classroom. So when my son started kindergarten, I took a long-term teaching position at Grand Oaks High School, and then the following fall, I was offered a full-time teaching position at McCullough Junior High School. I taught 8th grade language arts there, and I'll say that when I first entered McCullough, it was an absolute dream. The students were involved, they were excited, the parents were involved, the staff, there was a lot of support. It was like every teacher would want to work at McCullough. Unfortunately, eventually the pandemic hit, and that just kind of flipped not just our world, but schools upside down. There was a lot of burdens that were added on to teachers at that time. I know at our school we were teaching virtual and in-person students at the same time. We had extra duties. I now had to monitor a classroom of kids at lunch. I was wearing a mask every day. And then there started to be rumors that we would, return to school in mask the following year. And I'll tell you what, I'm not somebody that, wants anything on my face. So just, as a precaution, and because I thought I might want to pull my kids out of school, I did resign in 2021. But I continued to work as a district substitute, teaching grades K, the little bitty babies, all the way through 12th. And I spent a lot of time in second grade and was wondering, this is what people were talking about, why are you teaching junior high? I should be teaching second grade. Those kids love you, they're so sweet. So I was able to kind of see the district from all grades, from all schools, which really provided a lot of perspective. But at the same time, I was hearing from my teaching friends that, we thought the pandemic was really tricky, but it actually got even worse for them. They did not have resources that they needed. They did not feel supported by their administrations. So I did what I thought I could do to help them on the outside. I sent an email to the board. Fortunately, did not hear back about that. But I also got involved in different district committees. I was on the 2023 bond committee, and then also on the Student Health Advisory Council as the mental health chair and the staff wellness chair. And we made some small strides to help our teachers, but again, it didn't feel like enough. I hear every day our teachers are struggling. We're losing teachers in mass. So I wanted to do more, and I really felt the call that I needed to run for school board. So here I am. And my purpose in doing this is really to support our teachers, because when we support our teachers with resources and with administrative support, we are really directly supporting our students. Those are the people that are working with our students every single day, and that's where our support and where our resources need to be. So that's why I have decided to run. And in looking in the questions, the school board member oversees the superintendent. That is the main job of a school board member. You expect that you hire somebody that is capable and qualified for the job, and you let them do their job. But you oversee them, make sure that they're in line with your community, with your expectations. You approve the budget, approve curriculum. I sat in on several school board meetings, and there's a lot of approvals, and I don't think that's something that you can take lightly. I think it's something that you need to research, make sure that you know what you're signing off on and what you are approving. Regarding the code of ethics, I think, when you take the oath of office, I expect that I will act ethically. I have heard that it's actually a code of conduct. I would have to see what that is before I would sign it, but my goal in doing this is to act in the very best interest of the district and our teachers, our students, taxpayers. Regarding the financial component, I think my sister was in the district, I think she started in maybe like 07, and she was a teacher and then a counselor, and she told me at one point, it seems like the administration building is getting really big, and then a lot of positions are being created in the administration building versus under the previous superintendent. The focus was more on making sure the resources were in the classroom. I would really like to get the resources back into the classroom, and when we look at the budget, I don't think that means cutting positions. I think the first thing we should do is consider freezing positions, freezing hiring, and looking, are there places where we can put these people in these administrative roles or these instructional coach roles back into the classroom so that they can keep their jobs. We are obviously in a deficit, but I am not a fan of cutting positions if there's a way that we can keep these valuable employees. And then 3 things I think the district is doing well. I think our state average on academics is we're higher than the state when it comes to our academics. We are hiring amazing teachers. My kids have the very best teachers, and I love that they want to work hard. Again, I want these teachers to feel supported, but I think we've got some really great teachers. And then athletics. Now, of course, we're in the Woodlands feeders, so we go to games, and every game seems like a blowout. They're doing amazing. So I think that we have a really strong district with a lot of potential. I think like a lot of districts in the state, we've fallen on some hard times. A lot of that was brought on by the pandemic, but that was almost 5 years ago. So I think we really need to focus on turning it around, making sure that our teachers are supported with resources, with their administration, with discipline support, so that we can get back to the basics, so that we can make sure that our kids are achieving the highest possible outcomes. And then, closing comments. Again, as I said, I am running because I want to support teachers, I want to support our students. I believe in public education. I went through public education myself. My mom was my school nurse. As I said, my sister was a teacher and a counselor in the district. I've worked in public education. I believe that it is valuable to our community and not something that we can give up on. And I think that as a community, as a strong community, that we can come together and we can really make Conroe ISD the very best.
Next, we have Jameson Gentle, who is position 4.
Yes. Position 4. Hello, how are you doing tonight? I'm Jameson Gentle. Let me just get started by thanking you all for being here. It's an honor and privilege to get to speak with you. I wish more neighborhoods did what you all are doing here tonight. And just to let you know a little bit about myself, I grew up down in the Klein ISD school district. I went to Klein Forest. I'm a double letter, graduate with honors down there. After high school, went up to the University of North Texas. I got a Bachelor of Arts and with a minor in music. And quickly thereafter realized I needed a paycheck. So my first job out of college was a shoe store manager. And that quickly turned into being recruited by Kmart, be an assistant store manager and move into operations manager of Kmart. Then from Kmart, after a few years, I wound up in California because all the Kmarts in Texas, as you know, closed up. And so I stayed out there for a while. Their end was looking near California, and I was recruited by a theater company called the Pacific Theaters out on the West Coast in Los Angeles. I helped open the ArcLight Cinemas, which was a big, fancy new style, if you remember, when all the recliner seats came out, and you had the cafe and the restaurant inside your theater. I helped open up the Sherman Oaks location of the ArcLight Cinemas there in right outside of Hollywood, California. Spent a few years with those guys, and then wound up at Radio Shack for a long stint, of all places. Yeah, I started having children, and I needed a place closer to home, and I was about 5 minutes from home, could respond to anything at any time. I now have 5 kids in the Conroe ISD schools. I talked my wife into moving out here to Texas, where I grew up back in 2019, and we have a kindergartner, a 3rd grader, a 5th grader, a 7th grader, and a 10th grader, all in Conroe ISD, and they are doing great. I couldn't be happier. We did take some time to choose where to put our kids, and we looked around the Houston area, and it looked like Conroe ISD was the best choice for us, and we picked a house out here and set up shop. I am currently a small business owner. I do real estate business and investments. Share that with my father. And one second, I'm clicking on the talks, but time should. So let me move on to some of the subjects and get off talking about me. So let's look at the duties of the school board. So the school board's duties are pretty straightforward. The duty of the school board is to oversee the operations of the school district itself. So the school board's there to oversee that the superintendent is running things correctly, and if there are issues that need to be straightened out, the school board sets the policy and the tone and sets any corrective orders that need to take place within the district. It's kind of like running a store, running a shop. You just put things in motion and try to set them in what works successfully for the entire district. This This being a large growing district, we could get into this ethics, which I have to agree with. I have not read this ethics statement, so I can't really speak much to that. Myself, I would just say that as long as it encompasses something along the lines of be full of integrity, be righteous with one another, speak the truth, and limit your arguments to a minimum, stick to the points, and no backbiting, you know. I think that would be a good way to perform your civic duties respectfully to one another. But let's look at this financial statement so that we don't run out of time. So we have over $10 million that the district's running in the red, and that obviously can't continue. Apparently there are savings that the district's withdrawing this out of to keep the district going afloat without having to immediately pull loans or raise taxes. But that being said, obviously there's going to have to be cuts made or somewhere. You can't just not get rid of $10 million. So in the last meeting that I heard or update from Dr. Knoll, he spoke on what sounded to be, and I haven't seen an actual breakdown of the P&L for the district to see where all these numbers have arrived from, but it sounded to me like the district decided to vote as a board to give the teachers a raise out of funding that didn't exist as a go forward. And while I think that giving our teachers a raise is a great thing to do, counting your eggs before they hatch and hoping that you're going to get state funding to keep that going on is not wise and prudent management of your funds. And unless there was another alternative to come up with the funding to go forward, that's really almost set up for success that is now sounding to result in having to let teachers go. Unless there's a way to cut curriculum costs, cut expenses that the school is doing that would equal that amount, but I do not see that as a likely solution to the problem. And my last desire would be to raise taxes. I think that our tax rate, I would agree, is already pretty well up there due to the higher appraisal costs, not the actual tax rate itself, but that those were driven up by previous years of raised appraisal costs. I have a few things to celebrate the board with here. So celebrating is something I think I see this board do really well. They celebrate the teachers, they celebrate the students, they hire phenomenal employees, and I think that they've done a great job as that part goes. And there are some concerns that I would have as far as some of the decisions that they have made, at least especially that I have noticed here in 2024. One thing that I would like to make aware is that we live in a country where the children of our day struggle what seems to be more and more with what would be having larger numbers of mental illness, which seems to lead to more problems in the classroom with discipline. We don't have a strong disciplinary system at Conroe ISD to handle children that are acting out and lashing out against their teachers and having those disruptions amongst our children that interrupt the learning process for all the other kids that are in school. And that is something that needs to be addressed to where that the board itself would empower administrators at those schools to take better steps with those children that have disciplinary issues so that it's not impacting those other children, but with love and care. So there is something at work in our society today that is disrupting the children. And maybe that's that mom and dad are working so much they're not at home and spending time with them, but we could help to support those kids in need while they're spending 8 hours a day with the love and kindness that the Conroe ISD family shows them. Something that happened in a school board meeting back in, I believe it was May of 2024, was a vote about books. Now, as a person, I know we live in America, and there's really no censorship on books in our country. Anybody can pretty much read anything they want, but what we have to do is put curbs and hedges on our children's reading and what we introduce and allow children to see. Those eyes need to be covered, those ears need to be covered from the dangers that are out there. And the board wound up walking away in a disagreement about a certain book. If you guys go back and watch the board meeting from May, where we put forth some ideas of gender diversity and as far as sexual natured books in the classroom and some self-harm promoting sex change ideology among students that really doesn't belong outside of maybe your family. If your family wants to have a discussion about those kind of ideas, that's fine, but it doesn't need to be involved in something that's educated or taught or made available or said to be okay in the schools themselves. And that kind of goes into a spiritual battle that I think is happening in our day and age. We had a 2023 House of Representatives and Senate passed the bill that allowed chaplains into the schools now. So in Texas, you can have chaplains in schools. There's no more separation of church and state as far as chaplains are concerned. And very swiftly and abruptly, Conroe ISD held a meeting of the board in January and quickly shot that down as an option. So we have children struggling, as we know, with mental illness and problems in our society. And who more to help direct them but the loving hands of some chaplains out there that can help guide and heal hearts and bring some more sanity to these hurting and lost children. I would get further involved into some of the safety issues and concerns and talk about the reports from the Secret Service about school safety, but it doesn't look like we have any time for that today. But it does stem from a lot of mental illness that's happening in this generation in our society. I would really advocate that we go for something that promotes more transparency in our district board when it comes to finances, so people know where the board lies with where the spending is occurring and not have to make inferences and guesses and worry about where our tax rates will be in the future. Again, I'm Jameson Gentle, and I thank you for your support.
So next is Melissa Semler.
Hi, I'm Melissa Semler. I'm running for position 6 for the board. For my background and introduction, so first of all, I'm a mom of 2 kids in the district. My daughter is an 8th grader and my son just started kindergarten. That's a big reason that I'm running. I'm running for them. We've had some fabulous educators with my daughter, and I really want to see them stay in our district because I want my son to be able to have the same educators. So it's one of my top priorities to support our teachers. I started out teaching, actually getting my master's degree at Texas Tech. I graduated with an English degree, and the English department asked me to stay on to get a master's and teach while I was there. So I joined their graduate fellowship and I earned my master's in English literature at Texas Tech. After that, I went into teaching, or I was an admin at the community college in Western Nebraska when I moved up there with family. So I was in admin for a while, came down here when I had my daughter, and I wanted to be able to have the same hours as she did, and I went back into teaching. So teaching has always been a passion of mine. Education's been a passion of mine. I taught in public education back in 2014, and then found that to be something that, while I love teaching and I loved my students, it took so much out of me that I didn't really have the time that I needed to give my own family and the energy that I needed to give my own family. It wasn't a sustainable way to live, and I felt like I was in danger in the classroom. And so I left public education and I went into teaching part-time at the community college, which is a fabulous balance for me. I can still work with my students, I still get to do what I love and teach English, but I also have time for my own family. So that is my background. And I think what would assist me as a school board member is I've done everything from administration to being in the classroom and I also have taught higher ed, so I know what students are coming out of our schools doing. I know I see the trends that are happening in education, and I also know what it looks like from an administrative standpoint. So I think these things would really help me as a board member. The reason that I'm running, I really do want to support our teachers. I've also seen some issues in our schools. For example, last year, my daughter, during one of her classes, I'd taken away her cell phone because she was on her cell phone too much during school, and I felt like that was inappropriate. So as a parent, I took away her phone. Another student showed her graphic pornography on their cell phone during classroom time. I featured other students, and it was very concerning to me as a parent. The school did address it, but I ended up speaking to the board about the fact that I was really concerned about the amount of cell phone usage I was seeing with the students. And the board addressed it, but they addressed it by forming a committee to discuss whether or not the cell phones were a problem. Eventually, several months later, they created guidelines, but these weren't policies. So we still do see the phones out a lot in class, and I truly believe that this detracts from our children's education. They're very distracting, and I think it's a discipline issue as well. And I think these phones need to be put away during the school day. So that's one thing that I was really concerned about, and to me, it showed that we have a need for stronger policies and we need to enforce them in our school district. I think this happens across the board in our district. So that was one big reason that I started running, and I also see a lot of issues with our teachers being hurt in the classroom. A lot of them don't even say anything anymore, but they'll come home bruised, they'll come home injured, and I think that's completely unacceptable. I also think it's unacceptable to remove a student that has hurt a teacher, because that is assault. You can't walk up to somebody in a mall and kick them and then just say you're sorry and everything's okay. It's not acceptable. So I think this is a huge problem for our teachers, because they cannot expect to go to work and get hurt during the day. I also think that these students, when they're emotionally dysregulated, we remove the whole class until that student calms down. So the entire class is being denied the education that they're entitled to because one student can't emotionally regulate themselves. And then our behavior team comes in and coaches the teachers on how to form a better relationship with that student. We've got to lock down the disciplinary policies and make sure that these students are able to concentrate in class and to not be afraid of being assaulted in class by another student that's dangerous. The violent students need to be removed from the classroom. So when I go down to, I'm just gonna go down the list and see, we've got duties of a school board member. To me, I think the most important duty of a school board member is to be a voice for my community. I would like to make sure that I reflect our community's values. I would like to be able to talk with our teachers openly. I would like to be able to talk to our community members openly and hear their concerns so that I can address them on our school board. I also know that the duties of a school board member are to oversee our superintendent, and they are to balance the budget and oversee the finances. So the Board of Trustees and Position Code of Ethics, it asks what we believe has caused the long school board meetings. So the long school board meetings, I believe, are caused, when you look back in 2020 and 2021, you see that a lot of the votes are 0 to 7. I had a hard time finding any that weren't 0 to 7, actually, so it looks like the board is voting in unison. In 2022, new board members came on and they disagreed with some of the policies. New policies were introduced, new topics were introduced in the school board meetings, and that ended up making the meetings take longer. Personally, I think that a school board is a diverse group of individuals because we are all supposed to bring our own thoughts and ideas to the table. And I think it's unlikely that we will all vote in unison together all the time, and I think that is okay. And it shows that we're really considering what is happening and what's being put before us. We've been asked about the code of conduct. I'm not entirely sure what the code of conduct is. I've been presented with at least 3 different pieces of paper that have different codes on there. One was a code of ethics, one was a code of conduct. I will say that I think the oath of office should be sufficient, and I also fully intend to act ethically. It is a way that I act throughout my life, and I would apply those actions to the board as well. I also think that if the code of conduct was to silence me or to say that I had to check with somebody before I could talk to a constituent or talk to a teacher, I would find that very concerning because I think that it would stifle my ability to do my job as a board member and to do what I was elected to do. So financially, it asks what strategies or approaches we would use to help fix the deficit. I think that, first of all, I think we should look at doing an efficiency audit. I was looking at what Magnolia ISD has done. Magnolia ISD did put a Vader up for election in 2024. Prior to doing this, they did an efficiency audit and they went through and looked at how things were running in their school district, where the money and the resources were being allocated. I think it's very important that we look at those things before making any sort of decision like that. I also think that in Magnolia ISD's, in their efficiency audit, they noted that Conroe ISD has a teacher turnover rate of about 19.62%. I think that's a tremendously large turnover rate, and it's very expensive. I think that if we manage to get the turnover rate down, we can spend a lot less money attracting and training new teachers, because we know that attracting new talent is one of the most expensive things that you can do as a company. So I think we need to take a look at that. I also think we need to look at how much debt we're incurring. That not only raises our taxes, but it also costs a lot of money just to have the debt. We're paying a lot in debt services. So things that we think the district is handling well. Well, first of all, I think we're hiring great people. Those teachers that my kids have been fabulous. My daughter has high functioning autism, and we didn't find out until later. And so 4th and 5th grade were extremely difficult for her. And the only reason I think that she made it through was her fabulous teachers. They were so supportive of her. They took such good care of her. They were so communicative with me. I 100% think that she made it through 4th and 5th grade because of our Conroe ISD teachers. So I think hiring great people is one thing that we're doing, and I think we need to make sure that we keep those people. I love that we're doing our CTE courses. Our CTE courses are fabulous. I think they prepare students for the future. Our career and technical education courses, I think they prepare our students for the future, and those are great things to focus on. And I think that we have really strong families and PTOs in our district, and that is a wonderful thing. When I was teaching in HISD, we did not have the parent involvement that we have here. And you could really see it in the students. We know that student outcomes are increased with parent involvement, and it's a wonderful thing to have these parents here. So I think it's great that our district encourages our PTOs, and I think that's something that we should continue. So I would love your support for this position, and I really thank you for listening to me today. So remember Similar for position 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Datron Williams, position 4.
Thank you. Datron Williams, CISD, position 4. Thank you guys for this opportunity to share where we stand and where I have stood over the last 12 years. A little bit about myself. I've been on the school board for the past 12 years, and for those of you who know me will know this is going to be a challenge because brevity is not one of my strong suits. I've been on the board for the past 12 years. I've served as a past board president. I've served as the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee. Educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, a master's degree in corporate finance. I'm a Texas certified public accountant for the past 20 years. And I'm currently the CFO of an oil and gas logistics company where I have over 300 employees and 600 1099 contractors that I manage. And we have over an annual budget of over $200 million that I manage daily. My beautiful wife is out in the audience. She's a CISD educator for the past 23 years. I have 2 sons in CISD and one graduating from CISD now attending Sam Houston State University. I'm also a past member of a board member of the Montgomery County Women's Center. I've been endorsed by over 12 school board members, current board president, as well as the past superintendent of CISD, Mr. Don Stockman. Number 2, duties of a board member. This is where a lot of folks get mistaken. Now, unfortunately, some of our current board members have fallen into that category. Our job is to hire the superintendent, work with the superintendent to ensure that they have the resources needed for our school district to be successful, and continuously evaluate that. Seek continuous improvement in all that we do. Board meetings, board of ethics. The question was asked, long and exhaustive board meetings. God knows I hate them. God knows it didn't used to be that way, and I wish we would revert back to that. Why is that the case? I believe board members are infusing politics and personal agendas in our schools. I think our board members are being beholden by local politicians. I think our board members suffer from failure to know their roles as board members. As some of the fellow candidates who are like-minded with said board members, I believe that they believe that inexperience and being uninformed can simply be covered by putting a conservative label on flyers and billboards. Also, being supported and being beholden by a local politician only exacerbates the issues that we're currently facing of unnecessary noise and a serious distraction to our mission in our school district. So what should we do? We should fact check some of these extremely misinformation that's been given up here, some of this stuff and some of these candidates that they're spewing is very dangerous for our taxpayers, our constituents. And it's also very insulting to our educators and our administrators, some of the things that we're hearing, some of the misinformation that's being communicated here. As it relates to ethics, I have no issue, and I have never had an issue over the past 12 years in signing any code of conduct at my office or at any board where I've served as a member. I also have serious suspicion of anyone who's refusing to do so. When we're talking about financials, again, we're going to continue to seek relief from the state who's caused this problem, that has decided to hold our schools hostage, the school funding hostage, unless school vouchers are passed. So what will we do alternatively? We're going to do what we have to do. We're going to make tough decisions. We're going to continue to tighten our belt and ideally make cuts that won't adversely affect student outcomes. That's what we're going to do, just like you would do in your household, understanding that there's a tightening of the belt that's needed. I do not support raising taxes, especially while the state is holding taxpayer money associated with education funds as a surplus, so I don't support that. Number 5, I want to make sure I cover this, everything, so I wrote very copious notes. What are we doing well? Well, we were named Forbes, on the Forbes list of best places to work. That speaks to work culture. People enjoy working for CISD. That's what we're doing well. Financial transparency. We win awards, countless awards every year, given by the state comptroller for financial transparency. We've done that ever since I've been on the board. We continue to have outstanding student successes with a lower tax rate than our neighboring school districts. We've maintained an exemplary school district throughout this consistent rapid growth that we're seeing. We're seeing over 1,200 kids, 1,200 to 1,500 kids every year. Next question. Closing comments. I guess I'm already there. So look, this is the recipe that I have is simple. The recipe that I've had is simple over the last 12 years. We're going to continue to put our kids first. We're going to put the noise aside. We're not going to get distracted by these little shiny objects, CRT or book banning or wearing masks. We're not going to get distracted by that. We're going to stay core to the mission. We're going to equip our educators. We're going to equip our teachers with the resources they need to be successful. We're going to consistently hold taxpayers' resources, their funds. We're going to hold a conservative fiscal policy with your resources and your funds of the taxpayers. So again, put our teachers, put our kids first and foremost. Make sure their safety is there. Make sure our teachers feel safe. We equip them with the resources they need to be successful. Make sure that's paramount in what we do. And again, be fiscally responsible with taxpayers' money. That's the recipe. It's that simple. It's like making butter. When you start adding other things to that, you tend to cause chaos and wreak havoc in our school district, which is what you're seeing in some of these school board meetings. So when you ask me, and as far as what these folks are saying as candidates, I respect their opinions on things, but when it's all said and done, who can give a real testament of what's going on in our school district? The educators. Find an educator, find an administrator, ask them who they should be, who you should support. Ask them who they have respect for as a school board member, or who as a school board member they just respect the position of and not the person. All right? That's what we need to be doing. All the other stuff is just noise. Again, my name is Adrian Williams. I've been serving on the board for over, and by the way, when I was asked to serve, trust me, this isn't a job that I coveted. You're gonna jump up and serve and take such abuse. Right? I was asked to do this because I was told that, hey, you are the ideal person for the board. You're reasonable, you're rational, you have kids in CISD, your wife's an educator, you've lived here all of your adult life. If not you, then who? I was always told, to whom much is given, much is expected. This is my service to my community. I'm going to continue to fight the good fight. As you see on those board meetings, there's nothing less than enthusiasm and spirit and fire and all that I do in order to protect what I deem we should all be trying to preserve, an exceptional school district in CISD. Thank you. Again, and I still have a minute. My name is Adrian Williams, CISD School Board Trustee now, position 4. I appreciate your support.
Thank you. So, I am standing up here for Kristen Gordino, who became ill after eating kolache. And so she was really sick. So also, I would like to echo Mr. Williams' comments. School board positions are nonpartisan. You don't say whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. You are someone who is interested on being on the school board. So politics really shouldn't get into it. So this is what Kristen sent me this afternoon. She did not have any of the questions because I didn't give it out until you got it tonight. So she's just kind of off the cuff. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kristen Gordino, and I am running for CISD Board Position 3. I regret today that I cannot be here to meet with you personally and answer questions you may have. A trip to a local bakery and a bite of sausage kolache gave me a vicious episode of food poisoning. And so the candidate that you deserve to talk to and hear from today is a few days of recuperation away, and so I am not able to be here tonight. I am a lifelong conservative Republican, albeit this race is non-aligned, meaning it's nonpartisan. I attended Conroe High School and then earned my BBA in economics cum laude from the University of St. Thomas and my JD, Juris Doctor, from South Texas College of Law. My husband and I are basically retired now, and we pursue writing children's books, music, and producing family and child-friendly apparel and accessories, and eventually a podcast for young minds. We support that work through our small business Champagne Sunshine Cat Worldwide LLC. I have one stepdaughter, now a registered nurse, who was a gifted and talented student educated in Manhattan. She lives in Manhattan. We have a great Pyrenees named Sunshine who loves to greet students waiting for their bus rides every morning on our walk. We enjoy giving them a smile just before heading on to school. The major issues CISD is encountering will require wisdom and conservative management focused on supporting the core American values that have made Conroe a great place to raise a family for everyone. If elected, I will focus on teacher retention, meeting the needs of school administration, promotion of drug prevention in every grade, improvement of school safety and welfare of our school administration, teachers, staff, and especially our children. I will not tolerate experimentation on children or a violation of their boundaries and mental health. I will do everything I can to maintain your trust and communication with you and create a safe learning environment where children can flourish as they should. Then she gives her email address, and she says to learn more about her. Have a great evening, and I hope we will meet again soon. So again, this is for Kristen Gardino, and she's running for position 5. So it's a shame she couldn't be here to represent herself, but she couldn't. So next we have Stacy Chase.
Hello. Hi, I'm Stacy Chase, and I'm running for re-election to position 6 on the Conroe ISD School Board. A little bit about me. First of all, I'm a mom, not a politician, so this part is always so awkward, the campaigning part. But I have 2 little girls, a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old. They are students at Conroe ISD, at Buckaloo Elementary and Mitchell Intermediate. I'm currently on the school board and have been on the school board for 4 years. I was elected in 2020. I actually participated in this forum in 2020, although it looked different when it was virtual. This is pretty nice to see everyone's faces and get to interact, so I like this way better. On the school board, I've held a variety of positions. Currently, I'm the 2nd vice president, and I'm chair of the Audit and Investment Committee. Personally, like in my day job, I am a CPA. I have an MBA, and I work for a company called Siemens, who is a global technology company. There, I'm a director of internal audit. So I'm part of a small team overseeing all the audit activity in the Americas. And then globally, I'm responsible for all the audit activity related to data privacy for the company. Just to give you a frame of reference, the company is huge. It operates in 190 countries, has over 300,000 employees. So this is a lot to handle. I have my bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin or Arlington in accounting, and my master's, my MBA from the University of Nuremberg in Germany. Do we have alumni out there randomly? That would surprise me, but you never know. You never know these days. Yeah, and then I've always been really active in volunteering. I'm always someone who is like, what do you need? So I've been really active in my kids' schools, on the PTO, as a room mom, also as treasurer for both of their Girl Scout troops. So when I do have some free time, which is not a lot of it, we like to, hang out at the pool and do puzzles and travel when we can. There hasn't been a lot of free time lately, but it should get a little better after November. So, duties of a school board member. So I am an auditor and I'm a completionist, so I'm going to go down this list and make sure I answer all of these questions. But I think a lot of the people up here answered that question, but I'll just reiterate. So board members are responsible for the hiring, firing, and evaluation of the superintendent. They're responsible to set policy and tone. They're responsible to approve the budget and set the tax rate. And then they're also responsible to be community connected. So engaged with the community. I think above that, right? In general, kind of, rather than transactional, what are the duties, but just a vibe. This is a governance and oversight role. And you balance it with a passion and a heart for kids and public education. And that to me is what a school board trustee really needs to bring to the table. Okay, board of trustees, please. Okay, so this question around the unbelievably long board meetings that we have currently had that have been quite contentious sometimes. Maybe you watch it for entertainment. Maybe you have something better to do with your time. I don't know. But I think there's a couple of reasons why it has turned into that. And I would say my first 2 years on the board were quite different than the last 2 years on the board. But I think right now, I would say there's two main elements there. I would say there is a general unpreparedness, maybe, or inability sometimes to understand what is happening. We spend a lot of time, going back over topics, explaining, things as simple as like Robert's Rule of Order, like how we interact as a board. Definitely anything financial we have to talk about. It seems like the same points over and over again. So that definitely takes up time. And then I think just we've injected some politics into our board, which it doesn't belong there. I think the beauty of the school board is that it is nonpartisan. I mean, who looks at any problem and says like, oh yeah, like politics will fix that. Like, let's definitely inject politics there because yeah, look how great they are in Washington. Like, let's do that. I don't think that's the answer, and I don't think that will be the answer. I think politics doesn't close the math gap. Politics doesn't prepare a kid for college. Politics is not what's going to help us here in Conroe ISD solve our challenges. I did sign the code of conduct. I will sign it again. To me, it's not a big deal. I really fail to see what the drama is about on this. Many board members, if not all board members before Datron and I signed this, and we have a top-rated school district. So, I don't see the big deal. So definitely I would sign it again. All right, financial. Okay, so we've talked quite a lot about the $11 million deficit. And I think it's important for everyone on this stage to realize that if you are elected, right, day one, you're gonna have to start making some hard decisions, and you're gonna have to know what you're doing when it comes to finance, because behind every one of those decisions around our money is a kid, is a family, is an employee, is our community. So I think, please, please take that to heart and make sure you are prepared for the day one. My 3 parameters here is always, my decisions will be guided by ensuring we keep student success, that we, maintain and protect jobs, and I want to avoid additional taxpayer burden. I do not support raising taxes. I do not support a Vader. I find it personally objective to put a Vader to the voters when there's a surplus and there's unallocated educational funds sitting in Austin. That is just feels like personally reprehensible to me. That being said, if Austin can't figure out what to do and can't fund schools, then we'll have to do what we have to do. But that would be my very last Action. Name 3 things. Okay, the district is doing so many things well. It is really hard to pick out 3, so I'm just gonna like group them into buckets that I feel is particularly something to be proud of. The first is financial transparency. The district has won many financial transparency stars from the Texas Comptroller, including this year they won a 4-star in transparency. They are the only school district in Texas to have 4 transparency stars, okay? The second is with top-rated school district. The Conroe ISD has been ranked as a top-rated school district by niche. We have state champions, we have global champions, we have national merit scholars. There are so many great things happening there, and a lot of it's because of the talented educators and the truly passionate and dedicated educators we have in Conroe ISD. Also, like bus drivers and our police force and everyone just out there with a passion for kids and for education. The third is the employer of choice. Number 37 ranked by Forbes as best organization to work for. That's incredibly important when you talk about recruiting and retaining the people we need to keep the quality of excellence that is at Conroe ISD. So those are 3 great things. Closing. Well, thanks for listening to me, and I'm Stacy Chase, and I'm running for re-election. I hope you will support me. I think there's still a lot to do, but you can always trust that I will be dedicated to improving student outcomes, the safety and security of our students and staff, and using taxpayer money wisely. Thank you.
Okay, Nicole May, position 4.
Hi, my name is Nicole May, and I'm running for in position 4. First and foremost, thank you for having us here tonight. I thoroughly enjoy a robust discussion about public education. I think I could talk about just public education for hours and hours. A little bit about me. So I am the mom of 2 sons that are struggling readers, and I've lived in our community for a little over 15 years now. Early on, I found navigating public education difficult for my 2 struggling readers. And we ended up spending tens of thousands of dollars to teach our 2 boys to read. And it was after that I had this epiphany: what do the families do that don't have the additional resources to layer on to the services with the district? And it was really at this moment that my advocacy was born. A little over 5 years ago, I founded a local network for other families of dyslexic and struggling readers in our district. And this work actually led me to our state capitol, where I helped to write, run, and pass one of the most comprehensive dyslexia bills in the country. So grateful to Representative Steve Toth for authoring that bill, and also to Senator Creighton for helping us pass it in the Senate. So I was very proud of that work. Once that was over, it was time for me to really focus my effort back on CISD. And I will say that I believe that my advocacy work and legislative experience makes me uniquely prepared for the role of school board trustee. So I'm ready to get to work on day 1. My platform is really simple. Number 1, I would like to focus on improving learning outcomes. Currently, 35 to 40% of our students across all grades are not reading on grade level. And I'd like to see that improve, and I think we can do that. Number 2, I would like to support our teachers in the way that our teachers are telling us that they would like the support. And number 3, I would like to ensure that parental rights are a focus and a priority in our district. So, okay, so the duty of the school board, just like everybody else was saying, and I want to back up just really quickly. So my kids did attend CISD schools for 13 chronological years, 22 cumulative years, so I have 3 kids, so I want to touch on that as well. Duties of the school board member, very much like everybody else said, is to hire and oversee the superintendent. I think we have a fantastic superintendent in place. He is obviously one of a kind and well beloved in our community. Also to set the tone and the governance of the district as well. So not managing it, but just setting the governance of it. And I also believe that it's important for the school board to be the liaison between the community and the district. So it's, if elected to this position, you help to represent the community that has elected you. So you serve as a liaison between the two. The Board of Trustees position code of ethics. I also think this is an interesting question. I searched high and low for a code of ethics to sign on the CISD website, which, by the way, the CISD website has tons of information. I found a policy that was the code of ethics to follow, but I believe what they're talking about in this is what other people have referenced, which is the code of conduct. All I have been able to find is screenshots from people's phones that are placed on social media. So it's hard for me to say if I would sign anything because that's not an actual document to sign. So I would need to see that document. I will say that if elected, I would take the oath of office, which means that I would be ethical and have integrity. I would not sign anything that would remove me from representing the people that I serve in our community. So if it is a code of silence, I would not be able to sign that. As far as the length of time, I will tell you, I've been advocating for our students and attending school board meetings for a little over 5 years. So I went way before, way before there was tons of people going to school board meetings. And I was really at that point just begging for help in services in our dyslexic community. And there was not very many people there. And I realized pretty quickly that our school board appeared to be a very sleepy school board. It went down very quickly, as referenced by other members here, and it was fast. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me because there was no dialogue or discussion. It was a literally 7-0 vote on anything. I have actually appreciated the dialogue in front of the community. I understand that they are long meetings. I have actually listened to most of them. I appreciate the back and forth. And while this is a nonpartisan position, we all have viewpoints on things. And so, there does seem to be a struggle on the school board back and forth about community values. And I think it'll be very interesting what happens on November 5th when our community speaks. So, as far as the financial is concerned, the deficit, to me, so since I have worked in Austin and helping to pass legislation, I am well aware of how dicey Austin is and waiting on them to get things done. I mean, sorry, Rep. Toth walked out, but sorry, it's the truth on that. It is much harder to pass a bill than it is to kill a bill. And so you have to really put boots on the ground in Austin to make things happen and to have your voice represented there. So it's a gamble to wait on the state to do things for us, right? So if we overspent, which is what it looks like we did, hoping that the state would fund us, then that was a gamble that didn't work out for us, and we overspent. And now we're in a predicament where we're gonna have to cut back. I agree, when we talk about cutbacks, I mean, nobody wants to talk about cutbacks, because we're talking about people's livelihoods and jobs. I would see putting a freeze on hiring any administrators. I would protect teachers and anybody that works directly with our students first and foremost, because that is what it's all about, is protecting our students and teachers. I would ensure that class sizes stay as small as they can possibly stay. So that's a priority for me because I love learning outcomes. I want our learning outcomes to improve. And I think that smaller class sizes are really where that's at, so I would protect that at all costs. The legislative session is getting ready to open though. That's the exciting part in January. And so I work with a group that has actually been working on special education funding. And so we've been working in the off season preparing for it. So some of the things that make things happen in Austin is also having relationships with your legislators, not only locally, but also throughout the state. So I think it's important that we get in Austin and have boots on the ground, but I also think it's really important that we have the relationships with the legislators. I would like to see the daily allotment increase. It obviously has not increased since pre-COVID, and that is not helping us. We need to make sure that that happens. So again, if you get to Austin and you work in Austin, those are the things that you prioritize. So I think our current board created a list of legislative priorities. And while I appreciate a list, it is really just a list. You actually have to get in your car and drive to Austin and make things happen. This is one of the ways that I think I am set apart from the rest of those running in my position, is that I understand how things work in Austin, and I'm prepared and ready to continue to work in Austin to bring finances back to us, and to ensure that that we can get ourselves out of this spending deficit. I also want to talk about special education funding, because that was part of our legislative priorities. It does look like special education funding is a priority for not only the House and the Senate, but also for Commissioner Morath. So I'm excited about that, but I just want to make sure that we get the special education funding to all the groups that need the funding. Let's see, name 3 things that the district is handling well. I do want to quickly talk about school safety. I am very grateful for our CISD police. I think they have done a fantastic job. My mom taught public education for 35 years. A little over 20 years ago, she retired, and she was never in fear for her life. And so we're in a different day and age now, and so we need to, really respect what our CISD police have done. I would like to see an armed guard at every single campus. I think that that would be helpful, and that was a funded mandate that came down. So I think that that's important to do. And I think that our parents are pretty fantastic in our districts, and I've always appreciated the PTO work that has been done, and the collaboration between the educators and the parents. So in closing, thank you for having us here again. I look forward to serving our district, and if you're looking for a candidate that is ready for improvement and change, I am that one for you. So thank you.
So next is Josh Webb, position 5.
Ms. Best, thank you for coordinating this. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for Windsor Hills for putting this on. I go to my background. I was born and raised here. My family, my mom, she's sitting in the front row. She graduated from McCullough High School. Her 2 brothers graduated from Conroe ISD, or CISD. My dad graduated from McCullough High School. His 2 siblings also graduated from CISD. When we moved here, 45 was a 2-lane highway. My granddad actually started Ray's Nursery off of Riley Fuzzle. So I like to think my family had kind of helped build a community, kind of start everything. My dad was also a fire chief at South County. He was a firefighter for 17 years. He's retired now. My kids, I have 3 children. They're going into the school district as well. My wife and I met at Texas A&M University. She is she's always been big on child education, early childhood development. She actually wanted to go into the Head Start program. She ended up moving with me to San Antonio. Right after I graduated from A&M, HEB recruited me. I worked in meat markets. I ran teams as a meat market manager. Eventually got pulled up to the corporate office, to the meat and seafood department. We did $4 billion a year in sales. I was the single person for the finance side of that. We did $4 billion a year, and it was my job daily to manage the books and let them know whether we were going to make or lose money. And if we were in a deficit in any way, shape, or form on a daily basis, I had to move things around and create money. I had to make money out of nowhere. That was my job. I got pretty good at it over a long period of time. And I think that would be pretty beneficial on the board with the current finance situation. I also run a small business. We have grown exponentially over the last couple of years. So I not only manage people, lead teams, work on finance, grow the business. I'm involved in a little bit of everything. And I think as a school board trustee, that's our responsibility as well. Going into the duties of a school board member, employ the superintendent, developing and adopting policies, curriculum, and the budget. overseeing facilities issues, adopting collective bargaining agreements. I like to use the person in the watchtower. Coming from, I was a fifth generation firefighter before going to A&M, and looking at wildfires, there's a fire tower, and there's a guy up top overseeing everything, and he sees a fire in the distance. It's not his job to jump down and go put that fire out. It's his job to let the people around him know that are suitable for that job, that are educated for that job, that have the master's degrees in those areas to take care of that. Next question, Board of Trustees position, code of ethics. We ask our children to follow the rules and to listen to adults and be safe and follow codes of conduct and policies put in place. And I feel that if, as role models for those children, if we're asked to follow a code of conduct to keep honor, integrity, and honestly, a rules of order in place, then I would obviously sign that. Yeah, so I would sign. Financially, I would like to clear a couple things up. We've talked in length about this a couple different times, but there's a little bit of misinformation. A few years back during COVID, we were given ESSER funds. ESSER funds are the same thing as stimulus checks that you received individually. We were given those funds, CISD was given those funds, and they hired people with them. Yes, that's what they did. But the budget, year over year, you have a 3% cost of living raise. You guys see that every year, you know that's happening. The board knew that was coming. They hired the people. Those people were distributed amongst different positions, whether they're in the same position they were hired in or whether they moved to somewhere else. The budget at the end of that year, going into the following year, was balanced. So the ESSER funds had absolutely zero effect on the budget now. The tax compression that's pushed down from the state legislature is what's causing this deficit. When whoever's on the board will be given a job to move things around and make things happen to make this budget right. And I will do whatever it takes to ensure that the students and the teachers have the tools necessary, that the students making them a priority, giving them the best possible education, not cutting anything out from underneath them, but moving things around outside of the education and the educators to make it work. And we will continue to do what we can as board members to get funding from the state. We will avoid VADERs at all costs unless absolutely necessary. And VADERs are not our call. It is up to the people, the community, to make that decision on what's best for the students and the educators. We will do everything outside of that to avoid it, and we will use what we got. But speaking on that, CISD is in the spotlight right now because it's where you guys live. Currently, there's 5.5 million public school students. The state, this year, the state had a $32.7 billion surplus in 2023 and a $21.3 billion surplus heading into 2025. The money's there. We're just not getting it. And honestly, it's affecting the children's education, their future, our future as a community, the community's future. We're going to do everything we can to continue to fight for that, do what we can, but we're also going to work with what we have. Name 3 things you feel the district is handling well. I think first and foremost, Dr. Knoll coming in, I think has been phenomenal. He's recognized, he's awarded. We just got another transparency award, just like Stacy said, the only school in the state to have 4, or the school district to have 4. They've done a phenomenal job hiring a lot of people. There's great teachers out there. We've met and talked to a lot of teachers in the past few weeks, months, years. They love what they do. They're not doing this for the pay. That shows that they have passion for the children. They're doing everything they can to give them the best education possible with what they have. They're great people. And I think the board and the school district has done a phenomenal job bringing those people in and maintaining those people. I think they've also done a phenomenal job with what they've been given. 90% of the budget that they've been given goes to salaries. We understand that, we know that. A lot of people dog the bonds, but but the bonds have been utilized to build more facilities, more schools for children, more children coming in. Ms. Bass said 2,500, Adrian said 1,500. It's a lot of kids coming in every year. And the school board used the bonds to build facilities for those kids to have the best possible location for education. They brought in teachers to fill those spots. The hiring of the teachers was necessary. We had to fill them. Notch Junior High, for example, they have a lot of kids. They're looking at ways on how they can make larger classrooms. The school board used funds to build schools, so we didn't have to build larger classrooms. Smaller, intimate settings create a better education facility. So I think they've done a phenomenal job with that. And hopefully we can continue to build on that and continue to grow CISD. A lot of people actually came to me from other states. They've moved here specifically to go to CISD. We're recognized throughout the country. When COVID happened and CISD was online overnight, a lot of schools called CISD directly and said, how'd you do it? They're recognized because it's a phenomenal school district. And I want to do everything I can because I grew up here, my family grew up here, my kids will go here for generations. I want to do everything I can to continue to build that legacy, build the greatest school district for people to go here and want to attend CISD. That's all I have.
Thank you. So next is Scott Busby, position 6.
Good evening. My name is Scott Busby. I too am a longtime local resident. My family moved here in 1971, and so I grew up actually in New Waverly, and really out in the middle of the National Forest. So in terms of my experience, my background, I've worked at the Forest Service, I've hauled hay, I've worked cows. I've done everything that you could possibly imagine in terms of work. I've worked for the Department of Transportation. I've built bridges on I-45 that everybody probably has passed over the top of it on the way to Conroe. I've got a long history here. I've got a lot of interest here in terms of Conroe ISD. And this is my first foray into public life, so to speak. I've got 2 kids. Both of them are in the academy at Conroe. They both are multi-sport kids, football, basketball, and baseball. So we do a lot of moving around on weekends. I felt, for them, I wanted to become more involved. I'm kind of at the end of my career. I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. But currently, I still work. So I'm a cloud solution architect. I work for Microsoft. When you think about the evolution of my life, I've done a lot of things and have touched a lot of different areas. So I've got absolutely have very in-depth inspection and construction experience. I think I can bring that to bear at this position. I know different classes of concrete. I know construction processes. I know things that are important to look at whenever you're talking about spending $2 billion. Where is that going to go? You know, I can tell you that from my experience, from my construction experience, that you have to stay on top of the process, and you have to ensure that the process is in place and that everybody is accountable. Without that, there's opportunities for all types of things. I've seen, I had trucks one time, I was laying asphalt. The truck tipped over, and they brought the asphalt out on Interstate 45 to apply to the roadway. He backed up to it, and I noticed there was grass in the back of the, I was like, no way, we're not taking that. But that is part of the process. So I think we extrapolate, we build on these processes, and I have a knowledge-based ability to bring that to this position. I think additionally, you know, as my work life has gone forward as well, you know, I work for one of the largest corporations in the world. It's been a very rewarding job. I support the top 50 companies in the world. I mean, I work with customers on developing algorithms for risk models that are applied worldwide for insurance. I work on IoT devices that feed are fed from one company that owns 32,000 IoT point-of-sale systems, and these are live feeds today. So, you know, in terms of experience and the ability to analyze and really look at the details, I've got the full skill set to provide that, and I'm more than willing to bring that to bear. I will say that my father, he had a school. Well, additionally, my father actually started a school back in the 70s. One of the reasons why we moved here. He was an attorney, but he lived without a father. You know, he grew up in the Great Depression, you know. So lived without a father and wanted to get back. So one of the things we established a school, and you know, part of that was you know, they had budgets and it was a 403C. It was a not-for-profit 403C. So they got state funding. In fact, they took kids that were adjudicated in the state of Texas for various crimes, usually car theft, things like that, larceny, you know, small, typical crimes, but sometimes they were more advanced and dangerous crimes. But you know, he engaged the state and had state contracts and county contracts. And I noticed one of the things that has been discussed really at length here was, you know, we seem to be at the mercy of the state. And I really think that there are ways that we can really get in there and address some of the, you know, the state legislators not hearing our voice. One of the things that I've learned is that works is that, you know, you have designated people that actually go out and engage with legislators in Austin in order to address, you know, your particular interest. Obviously, for school districts, it's not just Conroe; it's the entire state. I mean, they're saying 75% of the schools in the state of Texas are underfunded. You know, so it's obviously a huge problem, and we need to address that. So, you know, I've got a lot of ideas. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, budgeting problems and things like that. I don't see that $11 million is an insurmountable problem. I really don't. There's a lot of ways. I mean, there's going to be some leeway in there. You know, we've got $711 million, or $12 million that is part of that. So I really don't see $11 million as being, you know, a drastic issue. I've seen corporations, I work for corporations that had much bigger problems, and we were able to work through those. You know, I worked for corporations that they didn't know if they were going to be able to make payroll on Friday. You know, so I don't think we're in that position here. So I think just rational thought and logical processing here. Let's look for solutions and not just harp on the problem. We need to look for solutions. So, $11 million, not insurmountable. And if you wanted to look at that from a budgetary standpoint, I'm very familiar with program type budgeting. A lot of public institutions, they do program type budgeting, but they also do something called zero-based budgeting, where you take down a certain program, you take it down to its very beginning, its very foundation, and then you basically have to have a reason for each cost category. So, it's a lot of work, but it definitely works. It definitely works. And it's been implemented in the federal government many times. I'm sorry about this microphone thing. It's messing with me a little bit. It's kind of going in and out. So, from an educational standpoint, additionally, I wanted to also throw in, my mom would kill me if I didn't say something about her, but probably not. But she was in Conroe ISD for 30 years. She taught over at Oak Ridge for 20 years. She was also over at McCullough. Kathy Busby, maybe heard of it? No, maybe not. But then she retired from Willis ISD. I can remember, all the things that were involved with her being, both of my parents actually in education. So I'm very, very, I feel deeply for the teaching profession. I feel like that is just a noble profession to go into, and would really, really like to, offer any assistance I might have in knowledge, skills, and abilities to help, Conroe ISD in any possible way. So the duties of the school board, obviously, how much time do I have? Oh, I got 24 seconds. See, this is my problem. So for a living, I give classes on a lot of different things. I Cosmos DB, if you're interested in that, or IoT. I do a lot of that for my job at Microsoft. So I do apologize. I didn't answer these questions, and I will thusly turn this thing off. Thank everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And last but not least, John Robichaud.
Thank you, Diane. Thanks everybody for staying here. Appreciate it. Thanks to the Windsor Hill community. This is a lovely place. I actually had no clue this was over here. I have a daughter who's a sophomore here at College Park right across the street. I'm over here almost every other day, and I just thought this was a normal neighborhood like every other one. But it's a beautiful place. We have community center and everything there. It's a beautiful place. Like I said, I have a daughter that's a sophomore here at College Park. I have a son that's a 7th grader at Knox. I graduated from Oak Ridge High School way back in the day, 1996, back when it was a 4A and not a 6A. My parents started a local business out here almost 40 years ago, and my dad instilled in us growing up that you give back to the community that helps you, that you live in. After high school, went to Lamar University. I know I'm not going to have any cheers for that because you're not too many people here at Lamar. Graduated with a marketing degree in business. Growing up, never really wanted to be in the family business. And after working about 1.5 years outside of it, I realized, hey, this actually could be pretty cool. Pretty neat. And so 22 years, here I am now. My brothers and I have bought out our parents. We've been owners for over 12 years now. So I think that helps me as far as a background for this position, position 7 on the board, is the fact that I'm a small business owner, just like Josh over here as well. And you have to wear a lot of hats when you're a small business owner. I always tell people that a small business owner, a local business owner is like a duck on the water. It looks all nice and calm on top, but underneath it's paddling like crazy instead of floating. I'm also, one of my big sayings too, and I've said it a lot this last several weeks, is I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you listen a lot and understand what you're hearing, dissect what you want to say, and then say it. Don't just say it and then come back and have to correct yourself. So another reason that I think my background as a local business owner is going to be beneficial for this position is in the fact that I have on daily basis have to look at our books, our human resource, our payroll, our employees, our inventory, and have to make tough decisions on what we need to do to keep the business growing and keep it moving forward. So when it comes down to the budgets and all that stuff like that, I've already seen stuff like this. It's not gonna scare me to sit there and figure out what we need to do. So that's some of my background that I think will definitely help. As everybody here said, I'll probably repeat everybody with the duties of the school board. It is to hire and support the superintendent to make sure that the policies and procedures are in place and to make sure that the students and our administrators in our community are hearing us and we're taking care of them. That is the idea of the school board. The idea of basically the school board is like a Supreme Court for the school district, right? We make sure that everything's okay. I like the analogy that Josh said about the fireman in the tower. You got to oversee, make sure everything's okay. Something is not right. You have the people in place that are professionals at that aspect to take care of it. We're not professional educators. They are. We give them the tools and resources. They will prosper, and then that means our kids will prosper. The Board of Trustees Code of Ethics. I went to one board meeting, and I left a little early because I had a prior commitment, but I was told it lasted till like 10:30 or 11, and I left at 7. I think that some of the reason why some of these board meetings are lasting a little too long, some I've touched on before, is you're getting your own personal agendas and beliefs involved in some of these topics. It is a bipartisan board. Doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, if you're purple, yellow, white, blue, doesn't matter. Your main focus should be number 1 on the kids, number 2 on the administrators and teachers, and number 3 on your community. That's how you should decide any kind of decision that you need to make forward with dealing with the schools and all the ISD. Would I sign a code of conduct, ethics, whatever you want to call it? Yes, I would. And the reason I would is because the pillars that started CISD, which is one of the top rated school districts in the state of Texas, signed it. I was coached by Coach Sedgwick. I was taught by Don Stockton. I knew Gerald Irons. And if those men signed it, why would I not sign that? And like Josh was saying as well, if we want to have our kids be responsible humans and teach them right and wrong, this is how we do it, by showing them that. I've also, transgress a little bit, I've been on boards before. I've been on the Cynthia Mitchell Pavilion Board for 6 years. We do a lot of charity work. Give a shout out to Rome Shows Jewelry. We do a lot of charity work with all different organizations. Yes to Youth, Montgomery, the Memorial Hermann in the Pink of Health, Habitat for Humanity, CASA. I've done a lot of stuff for CISD with all different schools that each one of my kids has gone through. So I'm very involved and invested in it. The reason that I decided to take on this position, this challenge, was because this was just the next step for me. I have kids invested in this school district. I've been here most of my life. I'm not planning on going anywhere, and this was just the next step for me to help out my community. Financials. Yes, we are in a deficit, but like I said earlier, you would want somebody, no matter which position that that's available here, to have had an understanding and experience with different financial statements and different ways and procedures of handling and how to move money around, how to make specific cuts. Yes, there are going to be cuts made. Can't say exactly what they're going to be, but they will be made, and we have to sit down and figure out, like several have said here, to make sure that not just the students don't lose anything of it, but the teachers and administrators are not cut. But we have to, I think CISD is one of the leanest districts in the state. So we have to figure out ways to tighten the belt just because the state of Texas has extra funds that are not being trickled down to the public school systems. A few days ago, I heard a stat that I had no clue about. So the CISD has roughly over 73,000 students in the ISD. The average ISD in the state of Texas has 1,400. They were saying earlier we have 12 to 1,400 kids coming in every year. We have an ISD coming into our district every single year. What do? We're almost landlocked. We have some places that we can build build new schools. We don't want to overcrowd our teachers with students. They're at around 24 to 25 students a teacher. That is way too much. But then what do? How do we build new schools? That's why the bond needed to be passed. We have all this new families coming in because when a family wants to move, the first thing that you're going to look for is how's the school system? How's the school district there? Is it great? Yes. Then I'm going to move there. You know, and the influx in our house values have come from everybody from all over the country wanting to move to Texas. You know, yes, it's great when you want to sell your house because it's going up high compared to what you paid for. But yeah, but I want my taxes low, my property value low, so I don't have to pay more taxes. You know, the majority of your property taxes you see, the bulk of it goes to your schools. You want somebody to actually has a finance background, who understands how to run businesses in a business, to understand what to do with that, the allotted funds that you get from the state. Like Stacy, I would have it'd have to be a last-ditch effort to do a Bader tax for approval. I think there's ways that we can figure out to tighten the budget, to cut stuff that we need to make sure that our students and our teachers are still getting everything that they need to be successful. Great things that the CISD has done. You've heard some of them before. We have amazing teachers. Everybody that my kids have gone to, unbelievable teachers. Like someone said before, you obviously know they don't do it for the pay, they do it for the passion and the kids and to see them grow and prosper. I have an aunt that had passed away recently, but she was a teacher up in Dallas area. She was a second grade teacher for 30 years. At her funeral, they had teachers, she taught second grade there. At her funeral, the pastor asked everybody, if you have Miss Lust, stand up. Half the congregation stands up. If you have a kid that's had Miss Lust that you have, stand up. Half of those people stood up. And it was amazing to see generations of families that were influenced and that were successful by my aunt. One teacher in second grade. So we need to make sure we have amazing teachers and to keep them there. Datran and Josh and Stacy have pulled it up as well. The transparency, financial transparency, it's there. The CISD has gotten so many awards for the financial transparency from independent sources. That speaks volumes to me. And then also just the PTOs, great parent organization, great parent involvement. You know, my daughter is a sports medicine trainer at College Park. They have, the parents just for those kids are incredibly involved. Then you add the football team, you add everybody else, and it's a big family environment. And when you're around that and you see that, there's nothing you can do but expect to have great outcomes on that. In closing, I have realized that I really love this area, I love this community, and I think people don't understand until you're away from it, and you come back to it, how great everybody has it here. Whether you have kids in there or not, it's an unbelievable community, but it's an amazing place to raise a family. So my name is John Robichaud, position 7. Hope you get your vote. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Very impressive, very informative. I see we have some signs back there. I'm not sure everybody brought theirs. So if people want to take them, they're welcome to. What's not taken, please take with you. What else?
Do we want to do Q&A or?
We can just interact with everyone.
Yeah, they will stick around for a little bit. So if you want more information or feel you didn't get everything you needed from someone, please ask them, okay? And thank you so much for coming.